Danger may follow you anywhere at any moment, even to your home door, as this first video starkly and realistically reminds us. Because you just saw a lady carrying her baby daughter unintentionally bring a guy to her front door and be seconds away from his entering. It may educate women in particular to be mindful of their surroundings, particularly before opening your front door. The guy pulls up the mask over his face as he gets closer to the driveway, making it obvious that he is trying to hide who he is. Fortunately, the mother is able to enter and lock the door before the scary Ring camera shows her what has already transpired, even though she is still totally oblivious of the peril. The lady reported the video to the police immediately after seeing it, and they stated it was concerning since there had been several complaints of a brutal and violent rapist in the region who had been raping women and children. It is thought that this guy and the rapist were the same person. If they are not aware that they are about to conduct a severe crime and want to conceal their identity, no rational person would leave their house wearing a full face mask like this one. It's possible that the lady in the video narrowly avoided death for both herself and her kid. Watch a similar video if you're not persuaded of how often this type of event happens. A young college student is arriving home and lets herself in. A mere 5 seconds after she does, 2 burly males appear on the porch, and the first one attempts to open the door and calls the police. It could be argued that when the man turns to his friend behind him, he's mentioning the camera, so he pretends to think he has an appropriate house by sticking around and putting, despite the plaintive screams from the girl inside as the woman notices the men at the door. It seems they only run off after the girl begins to scream, "We're calling the police." They're calling the police. Some people believe the men looked genuinely confused and may have had the wrong house, but the brief window of time between the girl entering the home and the men expanding on the porch would have certainly permitted them to see the girl. In contrast to the previous film, there is no absolute evidence that these men had malicious intent, whether they were attempting to seize the child or if they really lived in the incorrect home. It is debatable, since this video doesn't provide any further details, but the men's behavior was dubious in every way. However, it depicts an early morning couple making their way back to their home in Kent, Washington. The lady turns to confront a chasing suspect with a pistol as she slips behind her husband, who is seen opening the door. She locks the front door behind her and dashes inside. After seeing the Ring camera, the suspect repeatedly strikes it with his revolver, destroying the music gadget. By now, you can also make out another guy there. The wife believes the 2 guys followed them home from the casino after they spent the night there in an effort to grab any of their profits. Luckily, they arrived safely inside. The suspect with the gun was identified as Al Hussein Doctor, age 18, who was arrested on October 26th. He filed not guilty pleas to all of the charges against him, including first-degree burglary. We went on to something a little more paranormal with our 4th video. Nolan Brock, a TikTok user, was sleeping on the couch at 1:39 in the morning when he was awakened by the pantry doors opening and some kind of bangs or cracks coming from either inside the pantry or from the doors themselves, with the fan running. The incident was caught on his indoor Ring security camera. This happened 4 minutes later at 1:43, and one of the doors was abruptly wrenched shut, effectively ruling out the option that a draft was the reason of the doors moving. He chose to ignore it and tried to go back to sleep. One may presume that he slept for the rest of the night. One of the primary fears of many people may be hinted at in the following film, which was shot inside a house rather than on the front porch. The possibility that someone is monitoring your house while you're asleep. Horrifying video footage captured by a family's Ring camera in Kansas showed a stranger standing directly over a 15-year-old girl named Annie Robinson at about 2:30 a.m. on a Friday. Ananya said that after opening her eyes, she had the impression that she was in a horror film and that someone she didn't know was watching her from above. She screamed that someone was in the home and ran to her mother Angel's bed. Angel was jolted awake and made sure that Anaya and her 2-year-old daughter were secure in a room before calling the police. The invader had already departed when the witch cops arrived. The child most likely went via the front door to enter the residence. A 14-year-old child whose identity was suppressed was arrested thanks to the Ring camera's clear capture of his face. After a lady reported on Twitter that a strange-looking guy had been outside her apartment almost every night for a month, the youngster was charged with aggravated burglary and theft in November 2021. A handful of the recordings she had recorded with her Ring camera, which show the guy eerily standing there for long periods of time facing her door, were featured. He can be heard talking at some times, but his words are inaudible. The woman apparently posted this on Twitter after not receiving a response from the police about her concerns. She sent an update a few days after her first tweet, claiming that the man stopped because he was confronted by her friends and family. Her building security also performed an extra nightly routine as a result of the post becoming viral. There don't seem to be any updates on the situation because I can't seem to find her Twitter profile anymore. In this last video, an El Paso resident's Ring camera captures what initially looks to be a woman in danger asking for help at their front door in the middle of the night, but it could be a much more sinister situation than that. At first, the woman seems to be in distress, possibly running from someone, crying and pleading for help, but things start to get suspicious when she hides whenever a car approaches. Is she trying to avoid being seen bystanders, or is she hiding from someone? After the neighbor's driveway light turns on, the car's headlights approach from the right, and she's seen casually walking away, presumably to get in that unseen car, possibly because her driver was growing paranoid that too much attention was being drawn and they needed to leave now. You may argue that's just my irrational hypothesis, yet a month later, Krista Nicole Cordo was detained by El Paso police on suspicion of burglary of dwelling. The woman in the video and this mug picture seem same, since the charge against her was characterized as entering a building illegally with the aim to do anything dangerous, such as hurting the owner, damage property, or stealing. It doesn't seem improbable that this lady would have been trying to trick an unsuspecting individual into opening their door. Keep your doors closed at all times and be careful who you let in.